I created the strangest, most overcomplicated wedding decor that my cosplayer brain could cook up, and I didn't do it alone. But before we get to the antics of 10 people growing fake trees in my living room, let's start from the beginning. For our wedding, we booked what's called a shell venue. It's just a big room in a brick building with annoyingly conspicuous HVAC ducts, but it does have Edison bulbs. Isn't that all you need for a wedding? It's not the beautiful, natural environment that I dreamed of, but it was a blank canvas where I could let unnatural nature grow. The plan was to set up the space with 8 long tables, each adorned with a 5-foot-tall weirwood korok to canopy the space and hopefully distract from the HVAC ducts. What's a weirwalk, you ask? Well, it's what happens when you let 2 people's favorite fantasy books and video games amalgamate, combining the creepy weirwood trees from George R.R. Martin's A Song of Ice and Fire and, well, you know, the HBO show, with the adorable koroks from The Legend of Zelda. This one has Makar's face. He is the best korok. But my little guys, just like so much wedding decor, actually started as a palette. Look away now if you thought these would have been lovely welcome signs, because this poor thing got sacrificed to harvest its free wood. Please enjoy me trying to learn how to use a crowbar and absolutely destroying most of the palette because this wood was as rotten as a 13-year-old with unlimited access to TikTok. But none of that will matter, nor will it matter that this board definitely didn't have a spider on it with an egg sac that I got too scared to move and just covered it in wood glue and ran away. That absolutely didn't happen. Anyway, this wood is actually going to form the sturdy bases of my trees and will be entirely hidden, including the absolutely non-existent spider. But once I got out all the tetanus pokers, I got the boards glued into an X, drilled a hole inside, and plopped a dowel in the center to form 8 wooden bases. So now I gotta figure out how to make a bunch of trees. Despite knowing that I wanted trees as centerpieces, it took me a long time to finalize a design. At first, I thought they'd be able to be made exclusively out of wire and tubes of fabric and scraps to form branches and leaves. But the first branches that I did looked more like toilet paper trees than anything fantastical. So I knew the trunks were going to need to be cool enough that they distracted from the bathroom chic look. And after countless sketches, I just sat down with the monster clay and finalized these weird little guys. One of the things I was worried about from the beginning is that the one job that these trees actually have isn't to look good, but to not fall down. So this 3-sided design seemed like a good idea, because while I don't know anything about engineering, I do know triangles be pretty strong. The pyramids are still here, and I don't know if you know this, they're really old. So I got a masking tape pattern out of my sculpt, got that digitized, and then ran into a problem. When I first sculpted the trees, I was under the assumption that I would just make them in EVA foam. That way I could carve faces into them, burn in tree textures, and paint them to my heart's content. But when I realized how expensive that would be for 8 trees, I chose felt instead. I'd lose all carving ability, but I'd still be able to paint them, and it would be a whole lot cheaper, or so I thought. But just sewing all 8 of them together was way nicer since it was June and hot, and if I'd done EVA foam, I'd have had to sit in the garage to glue it. But now there was a new issue in that obviously felt doesn't stand up on its own the way EVA foam does. And so I did some experiments where I just hung some stuff off the branches and it did not look good at all. So it was like, okay, I have to fill these with something, but what do I fill them with? Do I use stuffing? Do I use beans? I literally considered beans. But then I went to Lowe's to get PVC pipe for part of the structure, and I ran into an old friend, a cosplay material popular in the olden days and one I hadn't thought about in years. Canned foam. AKA expanding foam, AKA the stuff you put around your windows to help with insulation. I took it home, shoved a PEX tube in there to give the branches a place to slot in, and I filled it up with expanding foam. I got a PVC pipe in there to hold it onto the base, and by God, it worked! And it didn't just work, it looked great. Yeah, it looks a little craftsy, but it's not falling over, and that's what matters. But I burned through like 5 cans to only get 3 trees, so I was starting to question whether EVA foam would have actually been less expensive. Then I found out that there are actually many kinds of expanding foams, some that get bigger, harder, and uncanned. This is actually flotation foam for boat decks. So I guess in the event of a flash flood, your centerpiece can serve as a flotation device. But this stuff comes with a variety of safety warnings, which is why you see me all covered in personal protective equipment, and why this shot is so underexposed, because I had the garage door open for adequate ventilation. And yes, it did cost a lot more to buy this kit outright, but I think if I did the math, which I cannot do because they don't teach you math when you get a BFA, but I think the mixy kind priced smaller than several billion cans of gap filler. EVA foam at this point probably would have been cheaper, but this was a lot less work in the heat, because I managed to fill up the rest of the trees entirely and still had a lot of boat foam to spare. Though, I don't think I can recommend that you try this at home, because it did kind of start leaching out of the felt somehow, which I didn't mind because it looks gross. And so now my weirwoods have scarlet rot. How perfect. But the scariest thing about this stuff is how hot it gets when it's setting. So just a whole big safety warning for this stuff before you go out and buy it. But after a little acrylic paint and letting whatever shape they took just kinda happen, I had 8 gnarly, goofy little guys, but they were still completely naked. How was I going to make 8 full-bodied canopies? Have you seen trees before? They are covered in leaves. And if you can't see those, you should get your eyes checked. But you already know I didn't do this alone, because this is for a wedding. And that means having an excuse to ask all the people you love for free labor. So I called in the troops. This is my elite crew of blood and chosen family, each assigned to a specific task that they have the skill set to handle. Some are crafters, some DIYers, and some are competitive cosplayers. And I put them on as Joe's mom put it, a vacation Bible school craft rotation. This is Sarah's, quote, bridal shower, unquote, crafting vacation Bible school craft day. But there is no Bible and we have cheese dip instead, which started with a PowerPoint.
Welcome to Bridal Shower, a presentation
that I made in 5 minutes the night before because I thought it would be funny, but I maybe should have put more effort into explaining each thing because my instructions were not super clear. Here's what they should have been. The branches are simple, designed not for aesthetics or craftsmanship, but how quickly and easily they can be made. They are still just wire covered in a tube of fabric. A couple of those get inserted into the base, twisted together to form branches, and adorned with sprays of cheap craft leaves. It's a little bit of simple sewing, some large-scale wire work, and some hot gluing. Nothing this gang couldn't handle, or so I thought. But I split the process into an assembly line and chose who I thought would be best at each job, with the first step being maybe the easiest and most fun, ripping strips of fabric.
Job 1, assigned to Maddie. You're gonna snip it with the scissors, and then you're gonna rip. Ooh, fun. It's so satisfying. The grain will very satisfying.
I gave this one to my sister Maddie. She's a Gundam builder, but she can be easily overwhelmed, so she got to just sit and rip. If you don't know, if you've got a basic woven fabric like this white cotton muslin, the weave itself lets you rip in a completely straight line. All Maddie had to do was get the rip started with a snip from the scissors and pull. And she did a fantastic job providing piles of strips to the point that she got reassigned halfway through to help with what I thought would also be an easy job, but apparently was not.
For some reason, the wire cutting is the chaos.
I assigned my brother the simple task to cut wire, but my mistake was giving him lenient instructions when he thrives under very specific instructions, of which mine were not specific enough, which became a problem because the next jobs really required the wire because each tree is made of both a lighter weight 16 gauge wire and a heavy duty 9 gauge wire. This stuff is hard to bend and hard to cut, but it is needed in the trees to help the 16 gauge wire even stand up. But Rourke had my best wire cutters and is a large man, so he got the job that could be the most physically taxing, but the most simple, and he failed at it to the point that his little sister had to save him. He ended up cutting the 16 gauge wire mostly, which then made it impossible to start putting the trees together, and mostly spent his time becoming the safety officer of the party.
Oh, careful. Don't get stabbed.
Literally,
Careful.
though the only real victim of the day was this Valentine's Day card that Pins had sent us several years ago.
Somehow the wire has knocked off the very cute card you once sent me.
I love you more than Marriott's chicken tenders, which is quite a lot. What?
It knocked that off. I love you more than the Marriott's chicken tender.
But the people I chose for the next job were the absolute perfect picks. The next job was the sewists.
What you're going to do is you're going to provide these strips to these three at these 3 sewing stations. You're gonna fold it over once and sew it straight. You don't have to turn it inside out. Thank God.
Arguably the part of the task that took the most prior knowledge to do, though. It is the simplest thing you can do in sewing. It's just a single straight line. These tubes don't need to be turned inside out because who cares if there's raw edges on a tree? The seam allowances didn't matter as long as the wire can go through it. And it doesn't even really need to be that straight. As long as it's a tube, it works. But sewing machines are super intimidating to most people, so I knew it would turn into a sewing class if I didn't choose those with experience. So I chose my dear friends Pins, Snip, and Haley, 3 people that don't just sew, but have competed in cosplay contests before. So they are great sewists, and I asked them to do the simplest sewing task imaginable.
How are you doing? I'm great.
Y'all are just like the peaceful ones, but y'all also look.
Snip's got the chain piecing going. Oh damn, that's what I should've been
Didn't
doing.
even need to tell him to do that.
That's what I should have been doing.
Every time I looked over to them, they were peacefully sewing away. Not a care in the world.
Y'all are doing the job that is the thing I don't want to do.
This is my ideal task. Chill, vibes, no pinning, no nothing.
Can I get the sewers a drink or something? You good? You want a snack? What would you like?
They didn't need any guidance from me. I just got to bring them snacks and drinks. And they ended up making more than enough branches to the point that they were also some of the first to finish their work and just chill. But the next job, my instructions were unclear again.
The put the wire together is apparently more confusing than I thought it would be.
So next up was the process of forming those wire-covered strips into branches. I gave this job to my mom and Joe's mom, who are both jewelry makers. So they know wire well, but not wire this big. Joe's aunt got assigned to putting the wire onto the strips, and she did great at that. But the first couple bases that I made were not super stable. Without the boat foam, they were all kind of drooping over. With these first ones, it all became a balancing act as the wire rotated around and fell down.
If it looks vaguely organic, it's fine.
But eventually, they figured out my madness and started sprouting branches.
They're becoming trees.
Finally, those branches got topped with leaves glued in by Joe's sister Beck, who knows her way around a hot glue gun and thrived in her role of giver of leaves. She was supposed to be doing this job with my friend Melanie, but Melanie got caught up pet sitting, so she didn't turn up until we were all just chilling. But overall, it was wildly chaotic, other than my peaceful sewists. It was dangerous and confusing, but eventually it all started working. I specifically basically asked for this volunteer work to be my shower present instead of real presents, and everyone abided by that and gave me their labor as a present instead of like pot holders or whatever you get at a shower. People do like lingerie showers? Like, why? No, that is weird. That is not the kind of what I asked for.
And on your wedding day, you'll get to look around and see all the love that everyone helped.
Anyway, somebody said that this was much more fun to come and have a thing to do, an activity to concentrate on, instead of just sitting and watching someone open presents. And I hard agree. I would love to come to a party like this. Often at showers, you're around people you haven't met before, and this shower was also exactly that. But I gave everybody a goal and a team to bond with, and my terrible instructions became their enemy, and the best way to bond people together is to give them a common enemy, and that was me. Anyway, for me as a host, I was bringing together people that didn't know each other, and this gave me full control to cause bonding, making sure everybody was with at least somebody that they knew, and I got to walk around and just film them like a weirdo. Sweatshop bridal shower. Good idea. And the sewists got some much needed R&R, because after everybody left, Haley got a massage from Pins while playing Simon Says with the TV.
Sam says lick your philtrum.
Your what? Do y'all only know that because you've seen this before? No. Oh. Y'all are just smart.
There were a lot of shenanigans after everybody left, actually.
Hit my butt, hit my butt, hit my butt.
Your hair looks cute. What is this cut?
It's called I Really Need a Haircut.
You take these and then you tape them together? Or do I twist them together and then tape them?
Don't twist them together because then they won't fit in the hole.
See, so then we just tape them together.
Tape them together.
Shove them in the hole.
And then twist them together.
Then twist them together. Okay.
Great shot.
Hey, my cut, yeah.
Pins just wanted to try out the tree making themselves and just stood there for a while making their own tree, and when I tried to help,
Together a little bit. Bring it around.
Alec was trying to prevent. He was right all along.
You weren't here. He was like, watch out, watch out, watch out. The part where I'm just like, how do you
That's the first time he whacked me in the face.
I'm just gonna say it again. Laura was right.
Justice for you.
in the end, the party as a whole created 5 finished trees, leaving me with 2 left to create on my own. But they did leave me with enough wire fabric strips to do that no problem, and enough wireless strips to use for an even bigger project I had coming. But there was still a problem even with the trees we had made.
Oh, it's like the Charlie Brown tree.
The drooping was still happening, so I was gonna need to find a way to fix that. Because again, the only thing they're supposed to do is not fall over. It took me months to actually come back to finishing the centerpieces, but with less than 8 weeks before the wedding, I finally finished them, and I solved all the balancing problems with just a bunch of wire and a prayer. And I know, you're probably thinking, Sarah, EVA foam was going to be the better idea. And you're right. They would look better and be more realistic if they were in a cosplayer's favorite foam. But they never needed to look realistic. They just needed to be vaguely organic and distract from the HVAC ducts. And what mattered most is that they are, in part, made with love. And I will be able to look around on our wedding day and look at all the love and boat foam. Thank you so much for watching. If you want to support the channel directly, you can check out my Patreon, where you'll get some exclusive content. But if you're just watching, liking, commenting, subscribing, or sending the video to a friend or your mom, then you're supporting the channel too, so thank you. An extra special thank you to everybody that helped build the little trees. But the biggest thank you to my newest big support tier patrons: Texasaurus, Cole, Miss Madwell, I Draw Wow, Ronnie, and Robin. Thanks for watching. Bye!